Good evening. This is my topic selection and open and close assignment. We went over 4 videos. I'm going to go over the key points that I took out of that. And in the end of this video, I'm going to let you know why I picked my topic for my midterm and what is the relevance and how I'm credible in that area. So for starters, with the first video that I watched, that was 6 excellent ways to start a speech with real examples, I believe. And the first one is used in a fact or statistic. So if you watch any of my other videos, I did state that using a fact or statistic can be a good way. So you don't want to just throw information at somebody. It's not going to really land, nothing like that, right? So you want to hit somebody with something that's interesting, something that's relevant. You could say, for instance, tonight was the Oscars, right? So did you know that so-and-so won 3 Oscars in imagine your speech is about a person, and that's a fact, right? That's one way you can do it. Next, they say that you should use a story. So short, concise, nothing too long. I know me, I can babble on a lot. If I get into a story with somebody, I really like to talk, and especially if it's a topic that I'm interested in, I'll go on and go on. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure it's relevant. You don't want to spear off. You want to make sure that that story has a purpose and there's a reason why you're using it. Then we're going to go on to number 3, which is using questions. Okay, so questions, I used questions the other day in class, right? With my presentation as a group. With questions, I've seen good and bad results. Me personally, I think I should have just used them in the beginning and not so much towards the end. But if you used them in the beginning and you're expecting an answer instead of a rhetorical, and then pausing and making them think, if you're expecting an answer, they may, 1, disconnect and go, this guy wants too much out of me, or 2, they're just they'll answer, but they're not, they're not really in tune with what you're saying. They're just trying to get out of there. 4 is using quotations. So in using quotations, you want to give whoever said it credit. You want to make sure you say the quotations right, and you want to make sure it's relevant to the topic. It's not relevant to the topic, why are we using it? Then finally, silence. Using silence, so using those pauses. For instance, so I have 3 main points, and those 3 main points are going to be X, and then we also have Y, and Z. So using those little pauses just to keep people intact and hearing, understanding what you're saying. And finally, using a little bit of humor. Cracking a joke, make sure it's relevant, make sure it's not offensive, nothing like that. But a good dad joke can really get somebody sometimes. Honestly, me, myself in class, somebody will crack the smallest little dad joke and I can't hold it in. It happens. But I'm in tune with what they're saying now. I'm paying attention, and it may not be necessarily the topic that I love, but that little thing, I'm grabbed. You got me. So then we're going to go on to informative speech topic. So first you want to start with new information, right? You don't want to do something that everybody knows. The example that they give, and the example that our professor gave us, was talking about exercise. Everybody kind of knows about exercise, or talking about being a vegan, or this, that, and the other, right? You want to get a little more, in depth. You want to be new. You don't want to go over the same topics in that, so that goes into being narrow. You want to be very specific. You don't want to be broad, because if you're broad, that's where you get into the not being new, not being different. Nobody's interested. You want to inform in an informative, right? Obviously, it's in the name, but you don't want to be persuasive. It's really easy to get in facts, and you're kind of being persuasive. And if you feel like you might tend to get that way, you might want to narrow your topic down to where you're talking to a specific audience and informing them, so you don't feel like you're necessarily trying to be as persuasive. You want to stay away from that on an informative speech. You want to make sure your topic's researchable. That's a part of being new. You don't want to just go up there and go, I played baseball when I was 10. Well, that's great, Bob, but that's not very helpful, and it's not researchable. Also, that's not a new topic. Okay, so you want to make sure it's researchable, all those kinds of things. Don't want it to be a hobby. If it is a hobby, you want to make sure that you have the research behind it, not just, I'm Bob, and I know about baseball. And then you want to make sure it's relatable. You want to understand the audience, right? You don't want to just talk about, well, the economic state of the union, and you got 10-year-olds listening to you. I don't know what that is. So, and that would be the informative speech topic. That's that video. Then I went on to preview statements for presentation introductions. So, you have your introduction, your body, your conclusion. But in those preview statements, or those main points, I should say, for me, is what I got out of the video. In main points, you just want to make it one, two, those kind of deal. One statement, right? You want to have a long sentence. You just want one word. So, for instance, in my introduction, I believe I use stable income, job availability, and there's one more that I can't think of just off the top of my head. But those are small, concise, you understand what I'm getting at. And then, you want to go over your main point first. Then finally, you have how to start your presentation, 4-step formula. So the woman starts with your hook, right? So we've already kind of been over that in some of my past videos, but you start with the hook, your attention grabber, grab the audience. Then you go to number 2, so your transition to the topic. So how do you transition to the topic, right? So you gotta have something. You can't just go, here's my hook, and then start babbling on about your whole speech. Everybody's lost. Nobody knows where you're at. Then you have step 3, so self-introduction. So introducing you as the speaker, not necessarily tooting your own horn, but giving yourself credibility to the topic and it making sense why you're the one presenting this to me and not this dolphin behind me. And then finally, step 4 is what's your audience benefit, right? So in that introduction and grabbing that, right? How do I benefit you? Even as being credible, how does what I just said benefit you as the audience? That's what you want to have. Finally, it asks at the end of our assignment to tell you what our midterm topic would be about. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you. Mine's going to be the benefits of the oil and gas industry and the Houston area for college students. And the reason why I chose that, one, my major is process technology, which is the oil and gas industry. In fact, in Houston, oil and gas is the primary reason why our city is so wealthy, is because of the port. It's the most important port in America because of our oil and gas trade. And I really do think there's a lot of opportunity for people my age and younger, both men and women, to go in that field and succeed. I grew up in a household where my father worked in that industry. I had a lot of family friends that worked in that industry, and they all seemed to be successful and pretty happy. So I planned on doing that myself, and I'd like to inform everybody of the possibilities of that career. That will conclude my speech for the night, and thank you.